but are reviews and studies and one-time events. And then I've also got a recommendation for the committee to direct staff to develop a fiscal accountability and resiliency policy. So those are our recommendations, and now I'm just going to go through the presentation quickly and review each of the envelopes and review the one-time projects. Quickly, we have, right now we're in the first FCED meeting to review the one-time projects. We'll have an e-town hall on March the 1st, and we'll be bringing the operations budget on March the 9th. And then we'll be going through to the regular council meetings for readings and approval. There are a few projects that have been discussed that you will not see on any of the projects lists that we have provided to you. Some of these are up here. We just have not had the time nor the direction to do a full business case on each of these projects to provide you with a number that is defensible. For example, the gravel road paving plan, we did have that plan in our budget for 2016, but through our discussions, we decided that perhaps we should take it off the plan for now and do some more work on policy and procedures on how to bring that plan or program through to the future. So that's an example. On the Ebb Tide Park and the reclaimed water, we only recently heard that we did not we did not get the grant for those projects. So we have to rethink those projects again and bring it back to council if that's our desire to do that. So those are the projects that we have. They're sitting, I'm going to call it in a parking lot for now. I'm sure the CEO is going to review those and he'll provide direction on which ones to review and when to bring them back. Another thing to consider, Darnell had a question.
Yes, question.
Thank you. The economic development, the regional economic development, would that come in under operating or would that be?
That should come under operating.
Okay, so thanks. Watch for that then.
Yeah. Another item to consider is we've had some feedback that what we plan to do is what we should be doing. So we're trying very hard to plan to do what we're actually going to do in the year. And we're ready in February. I know it's difficult at times because there's all these unexpected things happen during the year. However, I think we're trying really hard to meet expectations. So this is your first envelope. Actually, there's two. So we have vehicles and equipment for $267,000. The largest piece of equipment there is our loader. We use it all the time when the repairs are getting higher and higher on that loader. We have a few vehicles there, some surveying equipment, and a boat and motor. On our second envelope is parks and infrastructure for $138,000. The Coracle Beach access you've already heard about. The Kinnickinnick baseball field lighting. And the Davis Bay Beach float for a total of $138,000.
Do we want to deal with each envelope as we go along?
That is how I've written the report.
Okay.
Did you?
So, do we have a motion? Or yes, thank you. Councillor Wright.
Do you want somebody to move item 2, recommendation 2, so that we can look at them?
That would be appropriate. So you're moving item 2?
I'll move item 2 so that we can have a discussion about
And a
it.
seconder? Thank you. Now we can have discussion around 2A. Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. When I look further through this report, I see that over the next 5 years, we are anticipating spending, if my addition is correct, $1.3 million on equipment. As I look at the equipment and as I hear some of the discussion that happened during some of the budget in-services we had, I heard things like a 4-year replacement cycle for vehicles. I heard of one vehicle that had 60,000 kilometers on it that was going to be replaced. I know people in this community who would think that's a brand new vehicle. And I will not support $267,000 for vehicle and equipment for this particular budget year in the 2016 proposal. I have an amendment that I would like to make at some point in time with reference to this equipment, and I'll let other people speak to it, but I'm not going to support $267,000, nor will I support $267,000 in future years. We do not have a handle on our vehicle and equipment replacement. We do not have a handle on that at all.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Councillor Wright then, on the list that was presented to us with the equipment, which ones he does not want to support in this current budget. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 listed right there. And so I'd like to hear, which ones he'd like to take out.
I'll be delighted to respond to that. I'm going to propose that we put $150,000 in this particular line item for a budget. And quite frankly, it's up to the administration to tell me which ones they want to recommend. You've got $150,000 to spend it wisely. If you want to spend it all on a loader, feel free. Bring back the business case and we'll look at it. If you want to spend it on 2 or 3 other things, okay, and leave the loader for another year, feel free. It's not my job to tell them which pieces of equipment to buy. I'm just going to ask them to look at a certain amount of money.
Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. I believe that when our staff came forward with this list, they provided business cases for all of them as to why these needed replacing this year. Yes, they do recognize that they have work to do on the equipment replacement over the next number of years. And every organization will identify approximately when vehicles will be replaced, and then those get reevaluated at that time. So it's not saying that, 4 or 5 years down the road, this particular vehicle is going to be replaced, but it's allowing us to do budgeting so that when we come to that time frame, we've prepared ahead of time in case it needs replacing. So I've gone through all of these business cases that we've asked our staff to put forward to us, and I believe that the amount that they're looking to replace this year is giving us and them the tools that we need to provide the service to our community that's been requested. So I will support the $267,000. I will be looking for further information from our staff going forward with regards to fleet replacement.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, when we started the beginning of this budget process, that's the kind of budgeting that I was looking at that would be more council-led. The unfortunate part, though, is that it just didn't come. I hadn't heard this proposal previously, and it's in my mind, it's late now to look at this. I would have loved to have heard, here's $150,000, here's $200,000, work with this, because, although we're government, that's sometimes how business has to work. They say, we can only spend, that's how business works. We can only, and I'm repeating that because business can only afford $150,000. We can't, it's based on other factors, the market and such. So it's a little different. So I would have liked to have discussed this previously, because if in fact that had legs at that point, I mean, the difference would have went somewhere else. But I can certainly tell this council, and you've heard me, I could find a place for, even other than back into reserves, I have other ideas for a portion of $117,000. But the problem is that we're discussing it now. Much like I have concerns about the zero budget, that we don't seem to want to. This is a way, Madam Chair, that we look at a zero budget, that we're not passing on any additional costs to the public, but we reduce our costs, and we should have done this earlier in the process in other areas as well, in order to secure a zero budget that doesn't entail pulling from reserves that we're concerned about the declining reserves. So it's just late for me, but I like the idea. I'd love to see it develop further in future years. I think we only have 2 more years, but in this mandate, but that's what we should have done.
Thank you. Councillor Mueller.
I'm sorry, I was first. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Siggers.
I believe all of this information has been provided to us in numerous meetings, as well as all the business cases have been made available to us. They were reviewed at some of the meetings that we attended and were available online for us to review prior to this meeting. So the information's all been put forward by staff prior to being presented at this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mueller.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to start my comments by thanking our finance staff for working through this process with us. I think for the benefit of media and the gathered public, it's really quite important to note that Sechelt does not have the financial resources that we've indicated that we had over the past 5 years. I'm talking about the $14 million capital budgets that kept getting rolled out when we simply did not have the resources in the long term to do that. So like Councillor Wright, I'm looking for savings in this budget. We have other areas in the municipal function that desperately need money, and we're not in the position where we can continue spending the slight resources that we do have just as freely as we have been. So I hear what Councillor Wright is saying. I agree with the sentiment. There is a time when we have to put in a hard barrier in terms of how much we're going to spend on certain areas, and it comes down to bundles that we want to spend in certain areas of our function. That said, I want to give a nod to our Director of Financial Services, interim corporate officer, is that they have been trying to deliver on plans that were made and not to change horses mid-step, and we know how much costs are associated with that. So with those comments, I am constantly looking in every single one of these bundles for an additional 50,000 to take out and put into some of the real desperate capital needs that we have, especially specifically roads. And if anybody's read the McElhaney report, they understand that in the next 5 years, we need to spend $10 million on roads. And that's just not, it's just not there. When we look at this, there's no way we can spend that money without making hard cuts other places or raising taxes. So that's the reality that we have to live in. And I think this council really needs to take that rock on the head and really start to govern with that knowledge. Thanks.
Seeing no other speakers, we have recommendation 2A in front of us. No amendments. Yes, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to amend 2A. I'd like to amend the dollar value, and I would like to cap it at $150,000.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. And you wish to speak to it? Thank you. Oh, I have Councillor Mueller. Did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, thank you. It was a question more for our Director of Finance. What would the impact be of a drastic change at this point?
I believe that the backhoe loader is the one that's most urgent. And the surveying equipment, we'll just continue to spend money on outside sources or contractor services on that. So we could have saved a little bit of money on the surveying equipment. The Other vehicles will just need to be repaired as required.
Thank you. Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. So the 150,000 on the backhoe, which means no surveying equipment, which means we're, instead of capital, we're actually using operating funds instead, because it's costing us as much for operating as what the capital would be.
That's my assumption, yes.
Yes, well, and that was the business case that came forward to us. That's how it was laid out to us. With the boat that will not be funded, they were looking at how to deal with some of the boats and things that are leaking into the inlet, that they're having to rent other vehicles and other equipment for. And the pickup, I don't remember the pickup truck, but the issue was with the pickup truck.
4x4.
Oh, the 4x4 was the 4x4 was so that when they needed to get to the different, the pump stations, which are inaccessible unless they have a 4x4,
Correct.
that they can get there. Okay, thank you.
Next would be Councillor Shanks.
Yeah, I hear all members of council. The unfortunate part about this whole process is that discussions on the budget probably should have started in September, October. And we'd have a much better idea in terms of what we did want to spend our money on. But and I've had a problem with the process because as Councillor Inkster has indicated, he's used to a zero-based budget. And dealing with that and any additions coming forward and dealt with on an individual basis. So that's part of our problem. We haven't had time to even do departmentalized assessments of our budget costs, capital and or operational. So I'm in agreement with the recommendation as it sits at this time. The amendment, sorry.
Councillor Wright.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. On the issue of the backhoe loader, the reality is the administration could opt to say, no, I'm not going to replace the backhoe loader, and I'm going to buy Unit 32 and Unit 5, and I'm going to buy the boat and motor, and I'm going to buy the surveying equipment because it's more important than the loader. So we're giving the administration the option to make some decisions. We're just capping the dollar value that they're going to spend. And at this time in the budgeting, we only had budget meetings this month regarding some of these items. I have absolutely no difficulty with saying to them, this is what you've got to deal with. And we can take the balance of the money, and like Councillor Mueller says, we have other places that we can put it. And so it really is about giving the people in the administration who are responsible for these items the option of saying which is the most important. And they can buy the most important one. And if it's the loader, I'll live with the loader. If it's the others, I'm okay with that too, as long as they present the business cases for them. Thank you.
Councillor Mueller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I understand where Councillor Wright is trying to go with this. I wonder if, though, perhaps 150 per year might be just a little bit too harsh of a cut. I mean, this is looking forward to 2017. We're forecasted to spend $340,000 on vehicles. This year, our total is 391, even though these are the new ones. And so I'm wondering if perhaps you'd be open to a friendly amendment to cap it somewhere around 2 per year and include that moving forward, as opposed to 150. It's to me, I look at that number, and it's for an organization of our size, it may be onerous to try to keep this entire organization running with that amount of fleet investment.
Councillor Wright, let's make a deal.
I like to make a deal. I'm not open to much of a deal, I'm afraid. In another life, and it wasn't that long ago, my equipment and vehicle replacement budget was $80,000 per year. My geographical area ran from Langdale to Pender. And I had more vehicles on the road, and I had just as many mowers and trailers, and I had backhoes and bobcats and all the same stuff. And I just don't see it. I would suggest that if council doesn't like the number of 150, you can defeat it and you can put whatever number you like in there, and we'll vote on it. And I just don't think that we have that good a handle on our fleet. And I mean, we heard them sit in the budget meeting and say that the life cycle on vehicles was 4 years. You've got to be kidding me. I must be the only person I know who thinks it's less than 4 years for myself, but I gotta tell you, my vehicle replacement cycle with the school district was 10 to 12 years. And that's what I used. And I took a whole lot of other factors into account, including maintenance costs and all those things. But that's what you gotta do. You cannot afford to do 4 years in an organization like this. We just got too many places to spend the money. Next year, we'll look at another number as it comes forward. But we have to realize that we got to look at and make some of these hard decisions. This is $100,000 that we're letting slip through our fingers if we pass 267. Thank you.
Councillor Mueller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to be clear on what Councillor Wright is recommending. Has he included the other totals for funds that have already been earmarked? Or are you suggesting a 150 total? Because as my understanding, that's already been spent for this year.
Some of the vehicles have already been purchased in last year's budget. We may not have paid for them yet, but those were purchases that were made last year. I'm proposing that anything that gets added on this year, that it be capped at $150,000. In other words, you would buy from that list. Anything that we've already bought, we haven't had it delivered yet, but it's been in essence bought. We just haven't paid for it. So it's about these new items here.
Is that your understanding, directions? Oh, sorry.
That's right. So just to make sure we all understand, we have 3 items that are already approved by council and carry forward. It's the Parks motor, the Parks trailer, and the Parks flatbed truck for $124,000. And then these are the new items that we've talked about for quite some time, and that we're asking for a recommendation to council.
Thank you for that. We have in front of us an amendment to 2A that's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion around the amendment? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those, you're all familiar with the amendment? Yes. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? So moving right along. 2B. Oh no, we still have the second envelope in, oh, that is 2B.
Yeah. So the second envelope is for $138,000 for parks and infrastructure. It includes the Coracle Beach access, which I believe you've probably heard about already, the Kinnicknick baseball field lighting, and the Davis Bay float for $138,000.
For my clarification, remind me, is that a repair on the float or a study on?
I believe it's to replace the float, do something with the float, put it back where it was, or do a study and place it somewhere else. So
Thank you.
it's for $50,000.
So would someone move the recommendation? Councillor Mueller?
I'm prepared to move the recommendation for discussion. Yeah.
And a seconder? So discussion around 2B.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In particular, in line with some of the comments made on the previous item, I believe that certain members of council will be looking for money out of various parts of our budget. The Kinnickinnick Park baseball field lighting, I had asked this council to consider moving that up. It was something that was originally back a few years. At that point, the question of the cost was ballparked at 40,000, and when we got back the business case, there was a two-part option on that, to do just one field for 40,000 or two for 75, and I'm just wondering, and this is a question for the interim financial director. If we have anything that's off the shelf that's around $30,000 to $40,000, is similar in a parks and infrastructure, ready to go. Anything that comes to mind?
Nothing that comes to mind. No.
Any other comments around 2B? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Recommendation 2C.
2C is all about facilities. It's related to the Public Works building, which is a multi-year project, and we've determined that we need a new boiler for the municipal hall. The Public Works and Parks building, we're recommending $25,000 in 2016 to do the RFP so that it's ready to go in 2017 to 2020. We believe the project will be about $2 million at this time in total, and the boiler, we believe, is about $45,000, and this is more of an urgent repair.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. In the parking lot, you had an expansion to the library and City Hall. Would you make sure that the boiler is sized to accommodate any expansion that might take place? Not that the expansion will take place, but that at least we won't have to replace the boiler because we didn't size it properly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anything further? So I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So the next one is for the airport clearway for about $75,000. It improves the safety of the airport, and it's simply a piece of land at the end of the airport which clears, which is a clearing for the airplanes.
We have Councillor Wright.
First of all, I'll second it.
Thank you.
And for the public that are here, the clearway, this is not going to be a paved section of runway, is it? This is
No.
going to be, I'm going to say gravel, but I'm sure it's not going to be gravel. It'll be road mulch or something to that effect. It'll be a hard surface, but it will not be paved.
Right, correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next is communications technology.
So here we have IT for 300,000 and 150. We have several multi-year programs on your right and one-time programs on your left. And I thought I'd go through that. We have a very limited disaster recovery system currently. We want to make that system a little bit more robust, ensuring that we have backups that go off-site. And in a disaster, we can recover our data. It's very important to our organization. The other item is for new computer equipment for new staff. We have 6 positions currently that are new to the organization where they do not have a computer yet. These are new positions we're hiring for today and have hired, but they're using vacant positions, computers, if I can explain that. So we're shuffling them around the best we can. However, we need to buy new equipment for those new staff members. The other one is responsive website design. We're looking at our website to be more responsive to the public. Should it continue? Okay. The multi-year programs, there's is the ERP system. This year we have budgeted about $195,000, and the following year is $108,000 to complete the ERP program. The software pieces that are the big pieces are OnBase for about $50,000. It's a program we're right in the middle of implementation, so we're continuing to move forward. CityWorks is our asset management program, and we're looking to continue to implement that. And a budgeting program, we have right now we're doing all our budgeting on a spreadsheet, which is a little bit onerous. However, we have a program that we bought many years ago, but never implemented, so we want to implement that. The computer hardware replacement upgrades, we do not have a refreshment policy or program. Typical refreshment programs are about 3 years to refresh all your computer's hardware. We're recommending 5 to 6 years to refresh all your hardware as well. And the last one is our IT and infrastructure maintenance program, and this one is a little bit scary as well. This includes all our servers and switches for our computer systems. We've had some recent failures in our switches, and this will replace all our switches in the current year and to replace 2 servers. So it's basically to maintain the health of our computer hardware.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
I'd like to move it.
A seconder? Okay, questions? Councillor Wright.
You're using some old computers for some of your staff. How old are the computers? Approximately.
I think last time when our IT person was here, I think she said about 6 years. Some of them are pretty old.
That's right.
I was surprised.
Thank you very much. That was so that people know that the technology moves so fast in the computer, in a lot of industries, but in particular the computer industry. And to have a 6-year-old computer in business you're running some real risk.
We are running risk.
Yep, we are. Thank you.
Any other question? Yes, thank you.
It's just a comment more than a question. Thank you, Madam Chair. The IT budget, I know there has been some comments about the size of it this year, $300,000. If you look back in previous years, or if you look forward into the financial plan as it's forecasted, there will never be an expenditure of that size, and that really reflects, I think, the need at the district to really come into the 21st century, start to have databases that speak to each other, and really what this speaks to is a whole lot of savings in staff time in our operations budget. And if that were not the case, I would likely not be supporting such a one-time investment. But at this point, the district really does need this money to be invested, and I think we'll see savings farther down the road. Thanks.
Councillor Inkster.
Sorry, I think mine was on first again.
Oh.
This not only provides the certainty that our staff need and the community needs, but this is also taking the municipality in a different direction, where our website will be a portal so that the community will be able to check status of development permits, for example. We've already implemented where they get their business licenses.
Correct.
Those kinds of things, so that they will be able to interact with the municipality in a different way and make information and services more responsive to what the community is looking for.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
It was explained to us this year that this was a particular year of high expenditures in this area with a number of costs for training and programs, etc. And we were then told that in future years it wouldn't be this high. We don't know that. We need, as a council, to be on top of this particular portfolio. Not that the person who expends money and or puts programs in place will change the plan, but we don't know what's in our future in terms of electronics and changes in the electronics world and upgrades in programs and computers. We may all go away from laptops to tablets, a larger tablet that's completely linked to everything and throughout the building with direct wiring through the air. Everything changes. So if in fact we agree that this is our high expenditure year, then we need to be disciplined going forward, considering that we keep talking about zero to low taxes every year. We need to be disciplined in almost every area to not look at additional expenditures.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, item 2F, roads and drainage.
So roads and drainage is our large envelope for $860,000. We have two multi-year programs on the right there. They're the Trail Avenue Roadworks program. In that roadworks, we're doing the design in 2016 and the roadworks in 2017 to 2018. It's a large project. It's about $4 million or so, just under $4 million. Then we have a road improvement program where we've put aside only $250,000 a year for that road improvement program. On your left are the top two are urgent retaining walls that needed to be fixed. They're under repair currently. And then we have the Seashell Inlet Road paving Delta Road to North Road. So that is our envelope for roads and drainage.
Would someone move recommendation F? Has it? Oh, thank you. Questions or comments? We received. Okay. Any questions or comments around the roads and drainage? Yes. Councillor Mueller.
Just a quick question for our finance director. The business cases that we're able to see attached to each of these items, are they available to the public?
Not at this time. It's not that they can't be, though.
Okay. I just wanted to bring to light there's one line item in what we're looking at here. I assume up there it's the road improvement program. On another part, page 62 of the agenda that we're currently working through. You'll see a line item there. It's a paving program per McElhaney, and I really encourage anybody who's interested in the District of Seashell Finances to get a hold of that report, the McElhaney report, and really have a good look at it and understand what it's saying. Additionally, we've got a business case that only council has seen that describes kind of more in depth what this really means for the district and the district's finances. In that business case, it's very clear that there's a depreciation curve on all of our roads, and once you get over 50% of the depreciation value, it decreases so rapidly that the costs incurred in that final half of the road is essentially exponential. And if you look at the McElhaney report and compare, you'll see that the vast majority of the roads in Sechelt are in that category. The McElhaney report recommended over the next 5 years that we spend $10 million on our roads. And if you look at the budget, we simply do not have those resources. So that's put this council in a real pickle. And so that is the one part about this 5-year plan that gives me some trouble. If we continue to spend $250,000 a year, as is, we're 265, and this year and 250 moving forward, we will not come anywhere close to avoiding the impacts of those depreciation curves upon our finances. So that's a concern to me. I'm not sure exactly what we can do in this 1 year, but I look to council for some drastic action in the years to come to really address that, and that's going to require a lot of our resources.
Thank you. Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. I think our staff have taken that to heart. And what I'm seeing them come forward with is design programs so that they can look at putting in place the preliminary work so that when the infrastructure funding programs that we know are coming are ready, that they are ready to step forward and put in an application to get us some of that grant money to help fix our roads. So I think our staff is moving in the right direction, and some of that design work is in this budget already.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
Well, we do. I mean, this will go on and on, this discussion about how do we deal with our infrastructure deficit. Well, we can get grants, but we can reprioritize or change our priorities from certain particular vanity and or beautification projects and to have put them into roads and infrastructure. We could have prioritized that better. We could have looked at, over the last number of years, a slight tax increase to increase it to one, and we're not doing it again, 0. We could have done, could have put 2 to 3% aside every year from that and created $1 million for roads, but we're unwilling to do that. So we need to come up with, this is rhetoric. We need to come up with a plan to deal with our infrastructure deficit. And it may need to, there's communities, and I'm not saying we should do this, but we should at least talk about it. There's communities that are taxing on an annual basis over a number of years, 3 to 6%. Paul River was looking at 7 to 8% over a number of years, you know, to deal with some of their problems. And we won't talk about it yet. I don't know where we can get it. A ferry? I don't know. I mean, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about a combination of things, including taxes. I mean, we fall behind every year, and we're not finding savings within our budget, other than having to make last-minute changes to create a little bit of money to move over to those projects. But we've had 2 budget years where we haven't talked about it yet. We've lamented the fact that we're following further and further behind. We need to plan.
Yes, thank you. Any further comments?
Can I respond to
Certainly.
Councillor Inkster? If you review on recommendation number 5,
Yeah.
that we're talking the same language there. So I recognize the issue that you're speaking about, and we do need to do something. Mm-hmm. And that is a way that we can work together and developing a policy so that we understand what we're going to put aside for the future. We understand our infrastructure deficit and that we will be sustainable. So I agree with what you're saying. And recommendation number 5 is addressing that.
Which we'll eventually get to.
Thank you. We
Yes.
will get there.
Patience.
Anything further on roads and drainage?
I just wanted to make an additional comment. My previous comments were in no way any indication of oversights from staff. This is nothing to do with the way staffs have built budgets. It really has to do with how council sees their role and employing the principles of good corporate finance to make sure that we can always meet our current needs and as well future needs. So I just wanted to make that comment because it could be construed that it was somehow a slight against staff. There's absolutely nothing that staff could have done in this position more than they have done, which is recommend a line item that begins to just create some space In future years, if we're taking this seriously, that line item will be $1 million as opposed to 250,000. And that's really where we need to start working towards. But I'm comfortable with what's in there this year.
Thank you. If there's nothing further on this item, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So, sidewalks and walkways.
Sidewalks and walkways, we have one item here. It's for Davis Bay Crossing around Chapman Creek area. It's a light and a crosswalk.
Thank you. Any questions or comments around this item? Seeing none? Oh. Councillor Shanks.
No, I have no comment about this particular item, but I have issues with projected other costs in the future. If I may just speak briefly to that. And the one that just jumps right out at me is the sidewalk on Highway 101 between Bay Road and Pier 17. I mean, I believe we should be pursuing highways to the nth degree to do something about that, because it's primarily a drainage issue that we have down there. But I have no problem with what's in the 2016 budget.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions or comments, I'll ask, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Worship. So just for clarity, this what you're talking about means that the steel walkway underneath the bridge is gone.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it got washed out. All those in favor, everyone in favor of this item? Opposed? Carried. Next would be sewer collection and treatment.
So in this envelope is $225,000. It includes the Ani lift station and force main, the Seashell Inlet Road sewer service connection, and the Wakefield Road lift pump station. I believe the Wakefield pump station was an urgent repair, just recently was brought forward, and the Ani lift station was brought forward as well, but we had to add an extra $100,000 due to the quotes coming in. So that total envelope was $225,000.
Questions or comments?
Was it moved?
Oh.
I'm just moving.
Questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 3. Can I have a motion for? Thank you. Any questions or comments around recommendation 3? I need a seconder. Thank you. No questions, no comments. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommendation is that we will accept this document as the planning purposes for future years with the numbers that are allocated there. Is that correct?
Correct. However, taking into consideration earlier conversation, if you would like to amend that recommendation, for example, the vehicles and equipment to 150 a year or to 200 a year, that is up to council. So
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to share with you on the IT side, that is basically for our refreshment program, our refreshing program, not a refreshment, and our infrastructure replacement program. The roads and drainage, a lot of that is our Trail Avenue. Sidewalks includes a Bay Road sidewalk, which I believe because there will have to be some negotiation with other governments, so we've put it forward a bit. And also the Wharf Avenue sidewalk. And then the sewer collection is Area 6 and Area 2.
Are we all comfortable with this? All in favor? Opposed? So that's carried. We move to item 4, new funding for one-time projects.
For one-time projects, I've broken it down into 3 categories. These first 2 are new items coming forward in 2016. There's a column in there for studies and plans that we've talked about before and other smaller items. The downtown revitalization and/or gathering place study, the DCC bylaw review study, the Parks Master Plan, the Vision and Sustainability Plan, bridge and culvert assessment, and contaminated sites. That totals for $255,000. On the other side is the 30th anniversary celebrations, some further consulting for our software, as well as other small projects, and I just grouped a few of them together. They were green waste RFP, the contract negotiations, and perhaps setting up a nonprofit for arts festival type activity.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies there, so hopefully none of them collect dust. The Vision Plan Sustainability, that is update, correct?
Correct.
Update, right? And the Parks Master Plan is update, correct? Yeah.
It's an update.
Overhaul.
It's an update, but probably a significant update.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what that means, significant updates then. Hope it's not an overhaul, as was alluded to, Madam Chair, because I think they need updates. They were good documents, both of them, and so see what Mr. Vance has planned, but yeah. Otherwise, it starts costing a lot of money and things like that, and we already have good plans, so in terms of discussing how we efficiently spend our money.
Looking forward.
Yeah.
Will you come to the mic, please? Thank you.
Mic to the mic.
There are RFPs. If members of council, members of the committee would like to review them or have a look at them, I can make them available.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, is carried. So, item 5.
So item 5 is, I just want to end off just having a look. If I to put together all the funding for the capital plan as well as the one-time projects we just talked about, this is our funding pie, so to speak. The total funding is for $3.8 million. And you can see that our funding is coming from general reserves, 29%, capital reserves, 19%, and sewer reserves, 25%. And we're not, in our package for 2016, we're not getting a lot of grants. But we are using some of our DCC money. You see $342,000 there. And when we do the Trail Bay Road itself, we'll use DCC money there as well. And we're also financing some of the equipment at a very good rate. So the package that we put together here, this is how we're funding it from. So when I was reviewing What is the most appropriate way to fund these? Can we afford this? All these really good questions that we need to ask ourselves as we put the plan together for sustainability in the future. I realize that we are missing probably a very important policy, and that is the fiscal accountability and resiliency policy that we need to work together on, and it's very important for us to direct us in the future. So that brings recommendation number 5.
Questions or comments? Councillor Shanks.
Yeah, just a further comment, along with Councillor Inkster's comments. I think we need to have that meeting in reasonably short order. I don't know how long it'll take staff to put that together, but I'm suggesting we should have it in the next 2 or 3 months. Otherwise, we'll be another year before we address it. So I think it's a top priority, and we should do that as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Mueller.
Thank you,
I'll
Madam
wait
Chair.
till
Just
the
a
end.
quick question to staff. Is that policy going to be developed in-house, or is it going to be something that we're seeking outside help with?
I haven't determined that yet. I think I will speak with the CEO and see how he would like to approach that. We do have a draft policy from the previous CFO. However, we may want to review that and see if we want to carry that through.
Thank you. Councillor Seeger.
Thank you. I think you partially answered my question. I thought we had 2 policies that came forward that were actually passed, but were not funded.
There was a statutory reserve that we put aside for infrastructure
No, I'm talking about,
no?
yeah, there was an infrastructure
reserve.
but there was also one, I believed, around fiscal sustainability. It wasn't passed, maybe?
It wasn't passed.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so it's been drafted.
It's been drafted. We've reviewed it. I'd like the opportunity to review it with the CAO
Yes.
and then
Okay.
move forward with that.
Okay, I'll make recommendation number 5.
Thank you. A seconder? Yes. Any further discussions? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm looking at this total dollar value of $3.8 million, and that's the work that we're about to undertake. Is that correct?
That's includes your projects for carried forward. So some of those that we talked about, the vehicles that we're already in the process, and the work that we're doing for this year, for 2016.
So this, during the past year, how much in dollar value, how much work did we get completed?
I don't, sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head.
It's
But
around, it's around just over $2 million.
Yeah.
And so now I see a budget of almost $4 million. And I guess I'm going to ask the same question I asked last year at this time. I have some assurance that we will get this work done in the upcoming year? And last year I was assured that we would get the $4 million worth of work done. And we only got a little over 2, if my numbers are right. And now I see another $4 million budget, and I need some assurance that we are going to get this work done.
I just want to remind you that $742,000 of that is one-time projects. Many of those are consultants. So we have the recruitment, and we have the change management, and we have a lot of recruitment for consulting type activities, as well as with the other activities. They're design and the purchase of vehicles. I mean, that doesn't take a lot of effort. If there was an area that I was concerned about, it would be in the IT area. There is a lot of work, but as well, Bev suggested that she was using a lot of outsourced consultants. So I believe we can reach this budget at $3.8 million. Will there be some trickle over? There may be, but I'm hoping it's not 2 million. So we're hoping to improve that.
I appreciate that. And I guess I really appreciate the effort that you put in, but it makes me very nervous when we get a whole $2 million carryover because the public believes that those jobs will be done. We said they would be done. And then what happens is they see them come up again next year, which means they weren't done, and they go, well, where did you put the money? And so it's basically a perception that I'm concerned with, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. Are all of the carry forwards included in the spreadsheet that you provided to us?
Correct.
So we've got what, 1.2 million carried forward?
Sweet. 981,000 is carried forward for capital projects,
Okay.
and another 400,000 is for the one-time.
Okay.
So there's some one-time projects such as water resource review that was carried forward. So we're right in the middle of that, doing that right now. And those are big ticket items. And the sewer modeling is a big ticket item as well.
Right. So
Yeah.
during the last year, we basically told staff to start putting together, first of all, learn how to do business cases, come forward with business cases, and then we started moving forward. So we basically were the impediment to them actually accomplishing these. And of that now, there's 980,000 that they didn't spend. They've carried forward.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I can't believe we made it through that. Thank you, staff and council. It's important work, and sometimes that means it's slow. We had lots of good discussion. So item 6.4, Chattelich bursary request. Were you going to speak to that? We have two recommendations. I'll ask for a motion to receive.
Can I do both?
What?
Just receive and put the motion on the table?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Recommendations 1 and 2 have been moved. Seconder? Thank you. Discussion. I think it's Seegers.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just quick off the mark, I guess. In previous years, I believe we've given 2 scholarships of $2,500 each. They've made a request now for an additional one. Is that my understanding of $2,500 as a mayor's?
Mayor's
Do we have
scholarship?
any? Yeah. Do we have any background to that?
Okay.
I have a lot of background because I used to organize the bursaries and scholarships at Chattelich. And a previous mayor set up a fund where her stipend was put aside to be used as the mayor's scholarship. And that was the additional one that's being asked for here. My understanding is that money has all been spent. So I think now the school is hoping to come to the district and have us pick up that 3rd scholarship. That's what it looks like to me.
That wasn't made clear in their letter either.
No.
You're right. Answering party.
Yeah, and clarity. And it was dealt with through her estate once she was gone. So that's the background I have for you. What's your pleasure?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mueller.
As I read through this, one thing that's jumped out to me was the criteria that the students be entering the field of government, or specifically municipal government, on the mayor's scholarship. And being someone who's actually researched a lot of school related to municipal governance and the like, there's almost no entry-level schooling for somebody right out of high school to enter municipal government. So I'm wondering if council may be interested in changing the criteria, perhaps to look after a wide variety of students. There's going to be very few that are leaving high school heading right into municipal government. Perhaps we should change that to be some related fields of study, such as arts degree program, an engineering program, or a trades program. Perhaps those three.
Before we go to the next speaker, I'll just say that one of the issues around that particular mayor's scholarship was we never could find any student interested in municipal government. Couldn't figure that out. But the other thing that happened with all of the scholarships that came to the school, it was always better for both the students and the administration if there wasn't a strong criteria, so that when they found a worthy student that may not fit into one of the other categories, like a Legion child or a sports enthusiast, there was somewhere they could go to find a scholarship for them. So I'd like you to keep that in mind if you're looking at changing criteria. Yes. Councillor Inkster.
Thank you. I did want to ask where this would come from, this change in amount, because we're in the middle of budget here. I guess there's some more room in our budget for things like this, hopefully. We do know from previous discussions and some of the things I've said in talking to some students and comparing what I used to spend when I went to university and what people are paying now, it's doubled, at least probably 2.5 times what I
Probably
paid
three.
maybe 3 per credit hour. And that information is available. I think a course costs, it used to cost $500. I think it costs $1,500 now or something like that. It's just it's amazing. And then there's student fees and a transit fee now at many of the universities. It's hundreds of dollars a semester, and trying to get the kids out of their cars. But it's just the cost of going to school if they leave the coast. And we've talked about Capilano University and their offerings. A lot of them are leaving. We need to find a way as best we can to help. I hope the Rotary I think Rotary's stepped up and increased their amount. And so I'm wondering where it's going to come from. I hope it's in our budget. I hope we can find a way. In terms of the criteria for the awards, I know that anybody who's been up there and handed out awards and anybody who's administered them, like Councillor Lutz, knows that we do not end up with awards going wanting. They're usually handed out. Even if the criteria isn't clearly met, they're handed out to people because there's needy students. So maybe we need to refine this category, but in the end, they do try to match it up as best they can with something approximating the criteria. They're always handed out all the awards, and I think there's like 60 handed out. And good for the business community and the local governments. But I would like to know where it's going to come from. But and the mayor's one, it's not clearly identified here that they'd like us to add that. It just says 5,000. So
In the letter.
yeah.
I was going to leave that up to council on whether you wanted to add that or not. I was just recommending what we've recommended in the prior years because we've never been asked, well, we haven't been asked for the mayor's one in a really long time, so. And there's 5,000 in the budget.
5. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The recommendation's been made for number 2, correct? It's on the floor? Mm-hmm. So that would be 5,000 for the Chattelet bursary requests as per the previous year. I'd like to make an amendment that we remove entering the field of government from the criteria and have them base it on aptitude and scholastic achievement. That, as you've indicated, it can then go to worthy students. And I'm not in favor of the additional scholarship at this time. It's not in our budget.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Mueller, are you seconding?
I actually wanted to make an additional friendly amendment, if that's possible, if we can include in the criteria community involvement.
Okay, we have an amended to the recommendation number 2. You want to speak to the amendment? Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, we know how these awards work if we've been up there handed them out or been in school and or university. Scholarships are aptitude and achievement and community involvement. Bursaries are an identification of need by students who don't necessarily meet the scholastic achievement. If you do scholastic achievement, 2 to 5 students tend to receive all the awards. So if that's what you want to do, then 2 to 5 students, what do you do about the other 25 that want to go on to post-secondary education? According to that criteria, they don't get any help. So I'm not going to be supporting this.
Any further comments? Councillor Shanks?
Yeah, I'd just like to make the comment that over many years that I've followed these bursaries and scholarships, there's normally a handful of recipients. And if we go ahead and grant these bursaries and we send the check along to Chatelache High School, I would like to see far more widespread advertising throughout the school system, Chatelache specifically in this case, that these bursaries and scholarships are available. Because I know for a fact, it seems like it's a handful of people that sort of are privy to that information. And I would just like to see it better advertised in the high school.
Councillor Seegers?
Thank you. Where I got that aptitude and scholastic achievement, it doesn't say based on, it says they're considered. So it still leaves it open to the counselors or the teachers or whatever to determine who can get that, especially if we've added in the community involvement. Community involvement, is that what you're looking for? Community engagement? Yes. Okay.
Just a
Councillor Mueller.
a few additional comments. It hasn't been that long since I was brought into the counselor's office to discuss what bursaries I would apply for and others. Just to give council an idea of what happens is in and around this time, April, March, each student has a meeting with the counselor and they discuss early application to universities. And at that time, they also discuss which bursaries they would apply to. From what I've seen is that the bursaries and scholarships do happen to be spread around quite well. And so I'm not too concerned about the criteria becoming a hang-up. So those are my comments. Thanks.
And I'll just add to that, I know that it was tradition to put up the list of available scholarships, the amount of the scholarship, the criteria, where you got the application, and when it was due into the office. And that was there for everyone to see. They had meetings in the gym with all the grade 12s. I mean, they did their best to let it be known to the students. So I just want to assure Councillor Shanks that once the applications come in, the group, and it's usually outside school people that do it, they go through and choose how to most equitably put the bursaries and scholarships out to all those who applied and were eligible. So it isn't taken lightly. And there's an awful lot of students that receive scholarships. Yes, the brightest do seem to get more dollars because they are more eligible for university scholarships as well as community. So they try from that point on to hand them out in an equitable manner. So I don't think we have a problem with either of these recommendation amendments. The school will try and fit it to a student who is deserving of it. So if there's no more comments or questions, could we have the amendment read back?
Remove entering field of local government from the criteria, add scholastic achievement and aptitude and community involvement. Sorry.
Everybody comfortable with that?
Well, we're going to do the amendment first, then we're going to go back to the original recommendation. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah.
All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? The amendment's carried. The original motion? as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Oh, we've come to the end. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Yes. Second. Yes, I haven't got it.
She might not have it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, it's nothing though. You need the statement, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I need
Yeah.
the statement.
Section 91.
Oh. Okay. Pursuant to Section 91 of the Community Charter, it's been determined that the following items must be considered in closed session. J, to protect the business interests of a third party, and K, for negotiations respecting proposed provisions of a municipal service. So I close this meeting.
And I'll
Thank
second
you.
it.
All those in favor? Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Moved in second. All those in favor? So then we'll open and closed in a few minutes. Yes, we have questions from our audience.